Hey guys, so right now the snow has stopped. The sun is trying to peek out through the clouds there, but we have a big cold front moving in. We actually just started getting snow yesterday, but it's supposed to drop another 15 to 20 degrees by tomorrow. So my daytime high tomorrow is not even supposed to really climb out of the teens. We're just in the low 30s right now. So that means I have got quite a bit of prep to do out with the chickens and the livestock. So that's what we're headed out to do before this big storm and the big cold front really moves in. We're not supposed to get a ton more snow. It's just supposed to get a lot more frigid, and we've already got a northeastern coming through and more snow in the forecast, but it's really that big drop in temperatures that are going to be the hard part. Winter has descended on the homestead. I have to confess, I'm a little bit like a kid. I love it when it first starts to snow. It's one of my favorite things to go out and walk and play in. The livestock aren't quite as excited about the snow as I am, but they definitely get excited when they hear the tractor fire up because they know that means it's feeding time. I'm pretty sure that my husband would agree that buying this old 1970s Ford tractor last year at auction has been one of the best homestead investments because it allows us to only feed about every 5 days to the herd. We homesteaded for a lot of years with the cattle without having a tractor, and we still fed these big round fermented bales of haylage, but we just used our four-wheeler and we had to unwrap them and by hand feed every single day. So being able to save up and get the tractor has definitely made life easier. And it's kind of like the Pied Piper. As soon as the cows hear that tractor fire up, they are in line and they know it means supper is coming. Contrary to a lot of popular opinions or thoughts, you don't need to have a barn to raise cattle. Let's face it, cattle survived and evolved for thousands of years without having barns. But we do take advantage of our naturally wooded area. It will have less snowfall out here, and the trees also help to provide a windbreak. And so when we have snow coming or a lot of rain and really bad weather, then we try to feed out here. And you can definitely see there's less snow than there is out in the open part of the field. Another great thing about feeding out here underneath these trees is these maples have already dropped their leaves. So now we're feeding our hay, and the cattle will be going to a bathroom a lot where they eat, which means I'm going to have fabulous compost come spring that we can just come up here and use the tractor bucket to shovel up, and I'll have a lot of that wonderful black gold to feed the vegetable and the herb garden. Feeding these haylage bales is actually really good as well. One, it's cheaper for us than purchasing the individual square bales. But the other great thing is haylage is actually a fermented form of hay. So it's got more protein and more nutrition for the animals than if you just have your regular straight bales of hay. The other great thing I said is just for workload, when you're still working a full-time job and you leave in the dark in the morning and you get home in the dark in the evening. We are recording this on a weekend because feeding day is between Friday and Sunday. Then this allows you to not have to go out in the dark and try to feed the animals or have them wait until you get home. They're able to free feed off of these bales, which is really important, especially when you're having inclemental weather, that they have extra feed and water because they are going to be burning more calories in order to stay warm. The other important thing is cattle, especially especially are notorious for wanting to go to the bathroom where they're eating. So we're taking advantage of this so that we can get all of their manure in order to get that compost. But if we were to just leave them absolute free access to this bale, they would quickly have it strewn all over the place. They would bed down in it and they would go to the bathroom in it. And the bad thing about that is when they go to the bathroom in it, well, I guess on one hand it's bad, on one hand it's good. The cows won't eat off of hay where they have went to the bathroom, so that's good because we don't want them eating where they have defecated. It increases bacteria load and parasite load and all different kinds of things. But we don't want them wasting the hay, and if they bed down in it and go to the bathroom in it, then they're not eating it, and hay is can be expensive. We definitely don't want them to waste it. So if you have a feeder system like you can see what we have now, where we put this guard over the bale of hay, this makes them able to get at the hay and they can eat it freely, but they don't make such a mess of it and they don't whip it out and strew it all over the place and create a whole bunch of bedding. It just helps them to use it in the most efficient way possible, and so that they eat as much of the hay as possible without wasting any. This might not fall very high on a lot of people's lists, but I think it sure is a pretty sight when you see the cattle eating and playing in the snow. It may have stopped snowing, but I actually can't open the pump house door. My latch is frozen shut. Let's try this with two hands instead of one hand holding the camera and see if I can get this to come undone. You guys, I've been here 13 years. I have never had this latch freeze shut before. Would you get out of the way? Move. Move. Come on. Okay, guys, went in the house to get reinforcements to try to get this latch thawed out. So the camera's bouncing around right now because of the wind. And the wind is so much I cannot get this torch lit. So I brought out my hot water from the kettle. We're gonna try that. I have to get into here to turn the heat lamp on the pump and also to get my chicken feed. In the 13 plus years we've lived here, I've never had my pump house freeze shut before. Yes! That worked! Now, I know that water can refreeze, obviously, and create ice, but I had to get that latch open, and so I'm not going to actually put it down. It was where it was connected, so I'm going to leave it in the up position so then I can use a hammer to bang it back out if I need to. Whew, but that worked. We're in the pump house. So here's the pump house. Got the heat lamp, really essential, even though we've got it insulated with the wind chill factors that's coming through. I want to make sure that it stays warm in here. So this will go on the pipes. Also works great as I'm coming in because this hand is getting very, very cold. So we're going to let that will stay on. That'll keep it nice and warm in here. And then I can show you the other stuff. The other thing that I do for the chicken coop is I put one of the waterers in here so it doesn't get froze and I can rotate out with their water. So here's the bucket that's not froze so that I can rotate. And then here was one of the essentials. Is where I actually keep their feed, and I really needed to get in here to top them off. They needed more food than usual, even water and food, when it's this cold out. So this is the one that was in the coop, totally frozen solid. So I gotta bring it in here to let this one thaw out and then take them a fresh thing of water. So luckily, I don't have a heated water system for the chickens yet. Normally we only have weather for like this for maybe a couple of weeks or a stretch for like 3 or 5 days. But I do have a stock water tank heater, and so I can get water out of here and take it out to them. Not ideal, but it's gonna work. Okay, we're gonna get this taken out to the chickens. I already got them fed. Check and see if there's any eggs so that they don't freeze. If they freeze, they tend to crack, and then that's no good. And then we're gonna get stocked up on firewood, and go get warm. I know that having the tin on the front of the coop is necessary to help block the wind, but I gotta tell you, it makes climbing inside a lot harder than normal. And it's really funny when you actually see yourself on camera. I didn't feel graceful at all, and now I know I definitely didn't look so graceful crawling in and out, but it's also a reminder of why I do work out and keep my flexibility going, because when you're on a homestead and you've got livestock and weather, you have to make sure that you can stay mobile, especially when it's cold out like this. And there was a couple of times I almost slipped on the ice. I was really glad that I had my flexibility training and could be quick-footed. And the chickens have water. One frozen egg. But one I got to in time. Whew. So we lost one. I didn't get out here early enough and it was totally froze and cracked. And when it's been frozen cracked outside, I just don't take a chance. So I got the one, and then I need to get myself out here earlier in the day before they have a chance to freeze, because typically they lay earlier in the day. Whew. Get the pump house shut up. That heat lamp has only been on in here for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes. Oh my goodness, it already feels warmer. Oh, I might just stay in here. That's a long walk back to the house. So this time, I don't want the wind to blow it open. You can see it's already gotten this. This is just gonna keep freezing. Oh, so, my little water trick. And just enough, then I can easily, hopefully, not have that down and go back and forth like this when I need to get in here. When storms and weather come in like this, it really makes us glad that we did all of our prep work in the summer and fall and have a woodshed full of good, dry, seasoned firewood. And it also is a great bicep workout. So after coming in from doing chores like that, and oh my goodness, my hands are actually, can you see how red my fingers are? Whew, those gloves did not stand much of a chance against those cold temps. It was really the wind chill. I know it's bright and sunny out, but with wind chill, we're let down to definitely in the teens, maybe even single digits, which is cold. So one of my favorite things to do is come in. I made a whole bunch of broth up yesterday. This is chicken bone broth, and heat this up and sip on a nice hot mug of bone broth. So I'm gonna put this on the wood stove. It's also great. Actually, I was down yesterday for almost all of the day with a cold the afternoon. Feeling a ton better today. I took a whole bunch of elderberry syrup and some immune boosting tea. But the other thing I like to do is definitely broth. So we are gonna get this heated up on the wood stove. Oh, nice hot fire. And in no time at all, this broth will be bubbling away. While I don't necessarily recommend spilling any of your lovely broth on top of your wood stove, this was always my mom's surefire test to checking and seeing if the surface of the wood stove was actually hot enough to cook. And that was just taking a couple little drops of water, and if they dance and sizzle across the surface, then that was her sign that the top of the wood stove was hot enough to begin cooking. There's something to be said for really cold and inclement weather, though, because there's nothing that makes you more grateful and happy for a hot, steaming cup of healing, nourishing bone broth that you made from your own chickens that you raised and harvested yourself. and sitting and enjoying the warmth from that fireplace. It makes all of the work that we do throughout all the rest of the year so worth it. It also keeps life from getting boring because you never know what the weather is going to bring. From my snowy, wintry homestead to yours, and I'll meet you back here in a few days to see what else the storm brings to our region.